Well, a pleasant surprise of having some knives show up on my desk. Well, at least at the mailbox, and then this one was actually UPS, so that's fun. Alright, unboxing knife. I'm surrounded by knives because of a video that I ended up shooting the other night about different lock types and some problems that can arise with them. But you know what? Since I'm tired of dealing with that at the moment, how about if I go with a fixed blade? I got the Kaiser Mini Harpoon or Harpoon Mini, whichever one it actually is. This guy's in CPM 10V, which is a fantastic steel. Wow, I absolutely missed the fold there. But, alright, so I have a Boker, I have a little Swiss Army knife, and a little petrified fish that I kind of felt like purchasing because, well, it was under 30 damn bucks. The other one here, White Mountain Knives, but nice thin box this time. Since I don't have the address blocked out, I'll just go ahead and open the tape off camera. All right, and wow, okay, this thing came real quick. It's a real steel. Really. Sure, I'll start with a real steel. This is not going to be a knife that has a lock on it. It's called the Solis. Not the way that I would normally spell that, but maybe it means something different than Solis does with ACE on the end. Got some interesting paper that I actually end up used to see on a lot of Bokers, or at least their slip joints or tree brands. But yeah, here we are. It's quite a bit like the Luna. Let's see if I can't find the Luna that I have. Here it is. So there we are with that. I went with black because, well, I think that was about the only one. They didn't have, a massive amount of options on this one. But sheep's foot blade, rather than the, I don't even know if you would call that a drop point. I mean, it technically does, but it follows the whole curve of it. I don't know. Whatever. But, yes, nice black peel applied G10 going on there. We have their weird, not quite half stop that we do on the other one there. Kind of brass accents, or maybe a little bit more, more bronzy kind of looking accents to it rather than this stormtrooper vibe of this one in particular that was a White Mountain or Knife Center exclusive, if I remember right. But it's still nice action on it. It does have a pocket clip, just like the Luna does. Also screwed in from the inside, just like the Luna. Also can't swap it, which I suppose that makes sense. You don't really want to disassemble a slip joint in case you want to move a pocket clip around or something like that. And yeah, D2 steel, which I think, yeah, these guys are as well. Same designer, of course. Very similar design language. Looks like the print is updated, a little bit more vibrant on these guys, but yeah, nice. I also do like that I have just a little bit more height on there. That's going to take away just a little bit from piercing overall, but does make it a little bit easier for you to stay on the same trajectory of a cut without accidentally, going off on either direction there. So I do appreciate that. That's kind of a neat one. Let's see. Why not go for the petrified fish? This one doesn't have the name on there. It's just the 858. I know it does have a name, but I don't know what it is. Oh, it's the Skipper, I think is what this one's called here. It reminds me a lot of the Scout, and, well, that probably makes a little bit of sense because it's another David Chen who also did the Scout. A little bit of an interesting, just a ever so slight recurve going on there. Plunge grind is absolutely horrendous on this thing. You are going to make this smile like Goofy. But other than that, it seems pretty interesting. And, I mean, for under $30, that ain't too bad. Yep, it's in their standard D2, so not K110, but hey, it is also, like I said, under $30, so there you go with that. It is just basically kind of like a little bit larger version of the Scout that I got. That one, of course, was a little bit more expensive, but it was also in 14C28N. Yeah, not too bad as just an add-on. The action on it's pretty darn good, I gotta say on that front. We also have their little microfiber cloths. I would say microfiber, and it's probably the correct term, but yeah, it doesn't feel too microfiber-ish, just more or less a cloth. There we go. Let's see. I have not bought a Swiss Army knife in a very, very long time, but I kind of felt like it. And yeah, it's purple, so I really couldn't resist. And yeah, this is their Alox model of the Classic, which still has their little screwdriver thing for it, which I've always hated, and I've always kind of ground it down on one side to help with cleaning fingernails, because it's something that I end up doing a little bit more with these things. But yeah, these unless they've really, really improved the action on all of them overall, I guess I hadn't really realized how nice and smooth their Alox models are over their Celador, just the plastic handles there. But still, it's a little more pastel-y kind of purple than I would personally prefer, but hey, purple's purple. And I just kind of wanted it. So yeah, it's just a classic SD. Nothing real special on there. And I suppose if you're not aware, the Alox models or the aluminum handles don't come with a toothpick and tweezers, but they're much more thin. All right, and we have a Boker here. Almost all of them have these little stickers kind of broken from them. But I think almost all of those cases are something like this, where they're automatics. This is the Lundquist. Yeah, there we go. The Aluvial. These were apparently in works. They're Blade HQ exclusives. But they'd apparently been in works for several years at this point. But definitely does look very Lundquist-y in design there. These are aluminum handles, even though, it does have that orange peel kind of texture that makes you think plastic. But nope. Very, very neutral handle compared to the little Boker Kalashnikovs. There we go. Yeah, just a nice design, real kind of a pokey kind of blade going on there. Yeah, they always do this on the other models there too. Kind of annoys me where you have a huge heel like you're dealing with a kitchen knife or something like that. But it's pretty much all right. Fires out pretty much just like all the rest of those guys do. Yeah, the plunge grind, you can see from the reflection there, ends well above the blade, but it is fairly gradual up to that point. So that's probably not one if you want to get an absolute magical, special, perfect edge on the end there. It would take an enormous amount of grinding to be able to get that down there on that side anyway. But still, for what these guys are for, this does feel pretty darn good for a lot of self-defense kind of tasks. Real nice in a reverse grip. Everything is kind of where I would want that. And deep carry clip on here, which is not something... Well, no, it is kind of something that they end up doing on the Kalashnikovs, but they have those 3 bumps to kind of accommodate your fingers in there. But yeah, it's interesting. It feels nice and quality, and knowing the particular specs and everything for it, and how well Boker does a heat treat on their steel and everything like that. It's super great. But looking at it from, I don't know, a couple of feet away like this, it looks pretty cheap. And like I said, a lot of that's probably the orange peel kind of texture making it look very plasticky rather than aluminum. But yeah, it's still a nice quality piece. Feels really good. We have a little bit of a lock rock there with the button, but that's basically what I've come to expect from all of their automatics. I haven't tried. Well, no, I have. I do have it out the front from Boker. I honestly don't know if I'd ever actually pulled it up on the channel or not. But yeah, and out the front. I mean, it's tiny. It's a California legal one. And of course, this one's purple as well. A little bit more of the kind of vibrant purple that I personally prefer. This thing's a hell of a lot of fun to play with. Super great action. But yeah, you can see trying to get down to the heel there to sharpen. The precision on their heels is definitely not the strong suit for a lot of them. But yeah, these things fire out with the best of them. So, alrighty. Well, I think that's it, right? I got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I don't really have anything else to say at this point, other than these were kind of neat. Nothing super expensive. I do have a couple of fancier knives coming in a little bit, but they're not here yet, and these were, so that's how it goes, especially when I'm interested in some kind of mid-range knives, as well as kind of what we end up getting on the low end for nice value and all that sort of stuff. But alrighty, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe. One knife is what I think I have in this box here. And this one kind of excites me. For my unboxing knife, I got the Miguron Pelora. This thing is absolutely fantastic. I got all sorts of tape glue on it. I was using the absolute crap out of it yesterday for breaking down a whole bunch of boxes and other crap. And yeah, it's just a joy to use. See, well, another one of those stickers. And hey, we got a Viper box here. That means something from Italy. Hey, and this one actually has the sticker intact, which my hug didn't by the time it actually made it to me. Yeah. I already poked myself. All right. Neat. Yes. What is this? Shoot, I already don't remember the name, but there's the model number of it. I'll end up putting the name up here or something like that when I think about it. But yes, this is another Viper slip joint here. And this one has some fat carbon scales on here. It's gold something or other. I don't remember exactly the name that we got going on here. Obviously, at least the tip is quite sharp on it. The walk and talk on it, it's super nice and smooth. It's a little bit less of a spring than the hug is. That's what kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop there. This also is not the same designer. The other one was Sacha Deal. I don't quite remember exactly how to pronounce the guy's name. This one, different one. Also, I don't remember exactly, but I do have it written down. Blade HQ, obviously where I bought this from. Didn't actually have it listed. I had to track down the designer from Viper's website, but at least I'm happy to get that. They did have a few different variants of it. Obviously, this is the gold fat carbon, but they also had, I think, some micarta and possibly G10 variants that were a little bit cheaper. Obviously, this isn't an incredibly cheap knife, but still. It was under $200 for sure. And hey, you get M390, titanium, fat carbon, and also a nice little pocket slip going on for it. This one looks like it was shaped a little bit more for the hug, where it tapers down a little bit. So might take a little bit to find exactly the most comfortable way for it to sit in there. Obviously, it will stretch out a little bit, but still super, super nice so far that I can tell here. We don't have a sharpening choil at all going on this thing, but it should be easy enough if I actually wanted to put one in there, because the stop pin there is going to hit way back here. So as long as I actually cut it in after the plunge grind, because if you cut it in beforehand, why the hell did you even bother? Then, that should be all right. But otherwise, because of that, we got kind of a Spyderco kind of sharpen there, where it has just a little bit of heel. Much less than this guy here, the Boker Aluvial here, where I actually brought the shoulder back a little bit. But yeah, it's apart because I wanted to try to clean it up and everything, and then I was getting irritated with some other things that were going on around the same time and just didn't bother to put it back together yet. I will. Well, here's the inside of it. Yeah, it is aluminum, even though the outside has apparently tricked a person or two into thinking that it wasn't aluminum. And that might be the fact that, these guys are painted aluminum. They're not anodized, so they do definitely have a little bit more of a plasticky kind of feel to them. Anyway, yeah, I do like this quite a bit. Nice and comfortable. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a 3-finger. It looked like possibly it could have been a 4-finger, but that's not going to be the case for my particular hand size. But if you had kind of on the smaller side, you could probably get a nice full 4-finger grip going on there. But for me, it's basically 3, and still ends up feeling nice and comfortable overall. Crown spine that also coincides with the back spring there. Fairly high polish going on there, but yeah, really nice. I was happy with the Viper Hug that I got, but I have the bronze version, not the titanium, so this one did kind of interest me in picking it up. I actually do have another Viper on the way. This one actually locks, but I don't know. That'll probably get to me a little bit later next week. It has a steel name that's like ridiculously long, but it's essentially M4 steel, but made by a German company. So it is definitely some letter and number vomit, a lot like computer monitor models. But yeah, this thing looks super, super cool. I did order some more of the sharpening stuffy stuff here, but that won't show up until Saturday, and I'm currently recording this on a Thursday, so I won't be able to get to that until then, which I will basically refrain from cutting anything with this thing in particular here, but I will probably after that do a little bit of reprofiling on it. Yeah, this thing feels nice and thin. Actually starts to feel just a little bit thicker, or at least right behind the edge, up towards the tip, than it does at the back there. I don't necessarily know if that was intentional. Maybe my mind's making it up, or possibly that's just how it's ground. But either way, feels super nice and slicey, so that's good. Nail nicks usually aren't my favorite, but just like the Hug, this has plenty of blade with at least a little bit of friction available, so super easy to be able to open regardless there. Centering, yeah, pretty much fine. It can move just a little bit depending on how you actually push a blade. That usually happens a little bit on slip joints more than full-on locking blades, but yeah, I guess the star of the show was pretty much the fat carbon scales, and these are quite attractive. I like it quite a bit. Alrighty, well, that's basically all I got here. So I will catch you on the next one, yeah? Well, I got 2 new knives in the mail today. Both of these are from White Mountain Knives. I suppose I'll use my little Swiss Army knife for a little unboxer today. Oh, interesting. This one's actually taped upside down, so I can actually open that little darn thing on the camera. The other one is not. So I'll just cut it off camera, because, well, I don't know your address, and I don't really want you knowing mine. So let's go ahead and keep it that way. Alrighty, so there's Viper. The other one, I think, has a Trivisa. Heck yeah. Alright, let's go for the Viper first, because it's technically already open. This was a White Mountain Knives return for a little bit of lock stick, I believe, but I was interested in the knife regardless. So here it is. Oh, it is cold. I just got these out of the mail. We got another winter advisory going on here in Denver that just started a few hours ago. So, oh well, that is what it is. But yeah, here we go. This is the Orso 2. And this thing has a steel that is alphabet soup. LLQPM 20-4. I can help kind of decode that a little bit. LO, that's for the company that makes the steel. Lohmann, they're a German company. QPM, that's what they end up calling their particle metallurgy thing. And then their 20-4 is, this is basically their version of M4 steel. So there you go. Looks like it's fogging up a little bit just from being pulled out. Like I said, it's cold. But yeah, full titanium design going on here. A little bit of a floating backspacer. Quite a large titanium milled clip. You are going to have quite a bit sticking out there, so that's a little interesting. And then we got some checkerboard things. I think that they also do a different finish on this as well. But this was the one that was offered. It's an Italian knife, so crown spine. Yep, that definitely goes with it. And yeah, this is, I guess, just slightly a drop point, but for all intents and purposes, it's a straight back knife there. There is absolutely no sharpening choil at all, but at least the plunge grind is pretty darn quick. Seems to be a little thick behind the edge there. This is, I guess, a little bit more on the tactical than the crazy slicey kind of thing there. And yeah, the luck is a little bit difficult to end up dealing with. You could probably hear it there a little bit. So yeah, I just recently did a video about some of these locks and stuff like that, and talking about friction for liner and frame locks. And this is basically what that is. It's not getting stuck and hung up. It's actually kind of a friction thing that's making it a little bit more difficult to disengage. And it has virtually no lock bar access. It does technically stick out just a little bit further, but yeah, for all intents and purposes now. There we go. And this is Trivisa. It's rather new. I have not been able to figure out an actual model name for it. Like, even on their website, they don't really list it. They just list it as the Dor -04BA. So, yeah, interesting. Whereas almost all the rest of them have been some sort of a zodiac. You know, the Aries, the Gemini, Well, I haven't done cancer yet, but it might be not the greatest name for a knife, but it is technically one of those symbols or whatever you end up wanting to call it. All right, this is another button lock. But if I remember right, this one's a bit beefier than the other button lock here. Yeah, I mean, the blade is certainly more stout. That is for darn sure. It's 14C28N in this particular case here. I am looking for a microfiber cloth so I can clean that off a little bit. I know I have one directly in front of me that came out of the box, but I'd like to at least keep that clean if I can. There we go. Use a little tiny one from Tangram. These were very, very short-lived Kaiser budget models, and they weren't really good, unfortunately. They did have an interesting button lock and with an aluminum handle to start with. All of them used an offshoot of 440C. It was a Japanese manufactured thing, but yeah, most of them were not the greatest designs by the designers who did them, like Dirk Pinkerton did one or two, and Kim Ning, I think, did one or two of them. And yeah, I don't know. Either way, glad that they're not really doing them anymore, because their standard budget line now is amazing. So there you go. Yeah, this thing is very, very stout. Like I think I was reading, this is close to a 4mm blade stock, and it's kind of a high saber grind. So this is a heck of a lot more of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Tactical kind of design here. Much more for the pokey. Very, very stout tip on this guy here. So maybe not the greatest for an EDC kind of thing. It'll probably get the job done, but it's not going to slice through things like a thinner blade stock and or something that was a full flat ground would do. But still, very, very robust because of that. I guess this one has black micarta. At least that's what the box ends up saying. Yeah, black micarta. But for the most part, they're black and green micarta. Almost look about the same. This is a little bit rougher texture than they've done for the other couple of them that I've had, which also makes a little bit more sense. Gives you a little bit more grip. Yeah. This doesn't really have a designer attributed to it from what I see, which means it's probably Steve Chang. Because I think he's either heavily invested in the company or, business partners or something like that. Kind of like the other guy is for all sorts of words are absolutely failing me. Vosteed. Yeah. But still, we got some nice smooth action here. I could probably dial that in just a little bit more. But we have a fairly smooth blade coating on there. This choil doesn't seem to be quite as bad as some of the other Trivisas do, where they have a very, very gradual one and not much of a choil. So this is a little bit better, but still, you basically have one or two sharpenings before you start creating a smile. And of course, with the black blade on these guys, it's going to show up just a little bit more. So if it's something that you actively care about, or if you are notorious for jacking up the edge of your stones if you are doing freehand sharpening or something like that, might want to skip this one. But still, this is it's quite a stout little guy here. Let's see. I am looking for a glove. I haven't used it for quite a while. Nah, I don't have it. I just kind of wanted to do a little bit of tappy. Of course, this is a cushioned surface and all that sort of stuff, but yeah. Like I said in my other video, I don't really look to do a lot of impact testing or something like that, but you know, some of the those Vosteed guys are a little weak to for the lock strength for them. But yeah, I mean the other button lock I've had from Trivisa were pretty darn good. This one seems to follow suit. Probably use the more hardened steel like Kaiser ends up doing for them. So probably at least a little bit more robust than some of them. That being said, some of the Towser K button locks are fairly weak, so I don't know. Your mileage may vary, but still, you should probably assume that from a button lock, no matter who makes it. But there you go. I do appreciate that we don't have any proud liners going on here. They are nice and equal with it, just like the rest of the Trivisas I have in micarta. The back spacer is also in micarta. It's a little bit more polished, but at least it matches. It's a little bit cheaper to do those back spacers in G10, which is what a lot of companies end up doing. TwoSun definitely does that. Petrified Fish does it on quite a few, but not all of them. You know, it's just something to save a little bit of cost and actually add a little bit of rigidity. But I like everything to match. Also, really happy to see that I can swap the clip to the other side there. And inset and flush screws. So absolutely bang on as far as the pocket clip goes. And it sits in this little groove here. But yeah, you can kind of hear that if I squeeze it in my hand. That kind of bed creaking kind of sound, which is a lot of the same kind of thing that I run into with Civivi's clips and stuff like that, where they will yeah, they will move around just a little tiny bit. I'm guessing if this was G10 or, you know, even aluminum or steel or something like that, it wouldn't have that little bit of sideways motion to it. But still, these things do feel really, really nice and robust. So that's good. It doesn't really feel like I can accidentally flex it right off of the knife like I can with some Civivis. But, yeah, it's neat. I'd like actually having a titanium frame lock from Italy. I've, of course, had now at least a couple of titanium, but not backlocks. Jeez, I am really not all here today, it seems. But slip joints. I've had a couple of them there. And, well, I guess this is also a Trivisa since I have them sitting over on the side. This is a titanium slip joint. It feels incredibly light, though, but not quite in the same quality way that this guy from Viper does. So that's a little interesting, but still, that is what it is. I wouldn't have minded having some jimping kind of right around this area here. It is nice and equal with the scales on this guy. But yeah, and this is also a Jens Anso design, in case anyone was actually curious. And also, really, really appreciate having the lock bar relief done on the inside there. Always nice to keep the outside appearances nice and polished. But yeah, there we go. I will play around with this and see if I can't get that lock bar to be a little bit easier for me to end up dealing with on this one in particular. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. It was just a couple of fun knives that I got. There are, of course, more that are probably coming in. But I do think most of them are quite a ways out. Not that I've been anywhere near good about actually putting these unboxings out anywhere near on time. At the time I'm recording this, I probably have about a month's worth that I have recorded and just hadn't put out. So, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm thinking I might want to try and do some of these unboxings. Maybe on a second channel. I don't know. I guess it really depends. I'll have to look back and see how many people actually watch those videos. If it's a decent amount, then I'll probably keep doing that because, well, anything to get my view count up at this particular point, or at least subscribers and all that, probably the better. But, alrighty, I will stop rambling on. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe. Man, I will go ahead and talk about this just a little bit. So I took apart the Orso 2, and a few things that are a little weird. For one, no D-shaped pivot whatsoever. So it was spinning around in the breeze. I had to break out my Gorilla Grip to hit the other side. Luckily, that was there. And this was kind of swapped from the size that I thought that it should be. There you go. We also have T6 hardware everywhere except for the pivot and the pocket clip. At least the pocket clip I didn't really need to take off or anything like that. So I suppose that was nice. But we also have brass caged steel bearings. These aren't ceramic at all. Which I don't know. I guess maybe it depends on exactly when this model was actually designed. I honestly don't know exactly how old it is. But generally, you don't want to see steel bearings if you're using a high carbon steel. And, well, this is an M4 equivalent. Not exactly the best match, because at any point, if I actually get some sort of corrosion or something like that going on close to those bearings, it can easily jump over to them. Because most of the time, bearings in these steel bearings are not stainless steel. They can be made out of 154 cm, but that costs some scratch that almost nobody really wants to put up for. So they are a little bit more tool steelish, just for that extra rigidity and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a little annoying. So I mean, I didn't pay that much, but this knife is well over $200 if you want to buy one new. And for that, just having some things that I would kind of expect. T8 hardware I would appreciate, but hey, T6 is still basically industry standard. Steel bearings, especially mixed with a high-speed carbon steel thing going on there. And just, those other couple of things. No D-shaped pivot or any of that. Not exactly my favorite. That being said, at least it wasn't incredibly difficult to disassemble, but this was absolutely necessary. I did try to squeeze the knife and untighten it. However, because this side rather than the screw side was on the clip side there or whatever, as soon as I put pressure on it, this wasn't moving at all. Whereas if you did have the screw on that side, well, there you go, it would have worked fine. So yeah, I mean, I do have some concessions about it because I certainly bought this knowing that it had some lock bar issues. But yeah, I hope for their sake that this is just kind of an older knife that had some older design philosophy going on for it. Alrighty, I just wanted to cover a little bit of that because, it's out, and figured I should do it because my phone was still sitting here and recording stuff. So, alrighty, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. One knife that I had to trek through some pretty treacherous conditions. We got about a foot of snow or so outside. Seems like, the whole winter apocalypse that have been happening around the U.S. didn't really make it so much to Denver, but it certainly has now, at least for the next couple of days. But, Either way, outside of how the post office is kind of depicted in the old Seinfeld show, they actually did come through and deliver a package today. So, alrighty. Unboxing knife. I guess mini Asticus. Why not? It's kind of here. I do like the really thin nature and the hollow grind of this. It is really kind of painful to close, though. I don't necessarily enjoy that aspect of it all that much. But yeah, here we go. First TwoSun of the new year. I think this one is the TS400. And it is. Okay, so these actually made it to White Mountain Knives before I got it from the Amazon seller, who usually lists things quite a bit earlier than they do over there. So, some other people might already have this. It's perfectly fine. I don't really care all that much. Looks like we got a little bit of a front flipper kind of action with a thumb stud as well. Definitely check that thumb stud out first. And woo, we got ourselves a pretty vicious looking Persian blade going on here. D2, just like basically everything else that TwoSun will make outside of a couple in M390. Really short clip. A little bit of a notch there for one of the the speed holes. Really stiff. This one might actually be fairly difficult to get in and out of the pocket. Suppose we'll see. This one has a call-out pivot. Yeah, the number 400 here. And we have nested or inset liner. All that sort of stuff. We got all sorts of jumping that goes way up top there. If you really want to get a whole bunch of power down into the top of a cut or something like that, that ends up working out pretty darn well. We don't really have much of a lock bar cut out, but because the blade stock on this and most other TwoSuns is pretty thick, that ends up working in its favor a little bit. It's quite easy to get a decent amount of your your thumb meat, for lack of a better term, all up in there. You can slow roll the thumb stud out, so that's nice. Reverse flick, super easy to do as well. Have a gradual plunge grind, but we have a decent enough choil. Looks like the plunge grind ends right around there, so we do have a little tiny bit to be able to do that. Titanium thumb studs. If I haven't mentioned that before, with TwoSuns, most of theirs are actually titanium on both sides, so you can anodize them if you really like. It is a little bit more difficult to tie something around it to have it all be exposed and still conducting electricity through it when you're doing that anode work, but it can be done. So there's that. Yeah, that's a little Higo no Kami-ish. Doesn't feel super easy because this is way too tall for trying to do a little reach around for that. It can work with that front flipper, but still, I'll probably be mostly deploying this with my thumb. That being said, we got external to the blade stop pin up there, but it creeps way back into that notch so that you get that little bit of a thing going on top. There's probably a term for it in Japanese because this is kind of the thing that Higo no Kami blades end up doing. Even though for those, it's kind of the friction lock. It's how you actually hold the knife blade open. Whereas this, and also the TS386 guy that Wong has also done, kind of has a little bit of that. For some things, it's great. If you are trying to cut down onto a surface like a pinch grip, like if I was trying to do a rope cut test, this absolutely sucks. But it's specifically just using a pinch grip with a lot of downward force. If you're using it in a standard saber grip or gorilla grip or reverse grip's also nice on it, then it's generally not a problem. It's not going to get in your way or anything like that. And interesting that these thumb studs are kind of inset in this little triangular thing there. It's got some rounded corners. It makes me think of a shape out of SpongeBob SquarePants or something like that. You know, one of the little seaweed flower or starfish kind of things that they'll end up using in some of the backgrounds. I don't know, is that show still being made? Who the hell knows? I don't know. But action seems to be decent. You can get just a little bit better with some tuning, but yeah, still nice. And, you know, with a little bit of action there, I can get that to close pretty nice. So after a little bit of cleanup and oiling and pivot tuning, I could probably get this to be a pretty darn good drop shot knife. And that probably makes sense because we got a lot of blade stock thickness going on up here. I'm going to guess 3.9 or 4 millimeters for this. It's, yeah, quite thick. And then not quite full flat grind. We got definitely a strange modified saber kind of grind going on here. Stonewash on the flats, and then we have vertical satin for all the rest of that there. It's a fairly attractive knife. We do have some of the lightning strike anno inlays. That's the word I'm looking for there. Which is pretty interesting. This like that Jelly Jerry Matrix. You don't really have your choice. It comes with some of this anodized stuff. There's no other option for it. But all that being said, still super nice. I can see, yeah, maybe we can catch it on some of the light. Yeah, there we go. We do have some very fine micro milling going on there. And of course, we also do on the outside that seems to also have a bit of an acid wash that I really do like that. It gives even just a little bit more grip than a standard bead blast kind of finish on titanium, and I also think it just kind of looks nice in a more of an industrial kind of a situation, a little bit more utilitarian or something like that. But yeah, I still think it's really attractive. The handle works out really well. This notch around here, not quite sure. I don't. Yeah, that's certainly not useful there. It is at least a little decent for my thumb to cup around there. So I'm thinking that's probably what it was designed for. Was a little bit more of that reverse thing there. But because we do have quite the Persian-esque kind of upsweep to the blade there, if you are looking for the old pokey, you're gonna have to turn your wrist or keep your forearm completely parallel rather than what seems to be a little bit more comfortable, because at that point the tip's gonna miss your mark unless you're very well trained for any of that sort of stuff. But still, it's a fairly interesting piece. I don't necessarily know how much I might or might not carry it yet. I suppose we'll find that out. But this one might also be a fairly decent candidate for trying to, if you're not a fan of that call-out pivot there, which to me, that always really reminds me of like the Andrew Demko, like the 20 and 20.5, even though that has, Wampum, Pennsylvania on the outside of that, which is hilarious because they're all made in Taiwan, but, that's where it was designed. So, all right, I guess that works out. But I also haven't really heard a whole lot of people really complain about that. They're just like, well, yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, because of that being flush there, it's probably fairly easy to end up sanding off the top part of that. You might have to, if you want to have that match again, you'll have to re-acid etch that pivot collar after the fact, or you could leave it shiny, or you can, anno it to whatever kind of color you want. I think maybe a bronze would be a really interesting kind of accent point to that. So maybe I'll end up trying to do that on this one. Seems like it's a little bit easier than when some of these guys will stand out or proud from the scales, which can throw off that sanding process just a little bit, and or they also dome some of them that could also make things a little bit more difficult. But sure, yeah, it's the TS400. All right, yeah, cool. I don't really have anything else to mention about it, so I'll go ahead and leave it here. I am, of course, going to do a sharpness test on this and make sure that I actually do it instead of forget like I almost did with the last couple of knives that I got in, the Trivisa and the Viper Orso too. So cool. I suppose I will do that, and yeah, let y'all get back to whatever you were doing. That was probably more important than watching some almost disembodied hands float around across a wood-looking mouse pad. Alrighty, catch y'all on the next one. Well, this isn't absolutely anything that this video is going to be about. I have an SSD that just randomly completely stopped, but I need to troubleshoot it before I can send it back to Seagate going, hey, your stuff failed. Because it was working absolutely fine. And then, and then it just didn't wake up with any drives detected. Anyway, I got a new knife here, as you can probably tell. I got the Justin Lundquist Aluvial from Boker in here. I think it's a Blade HQ exclusive. I don't necessarily know if just the original iterations are or what, but here we go. All right, we got ourselves Vosteed. I did just purchase a couple others as they became available today. They will take a little while to get in. I don't know how much of a pre-order they ended up being. Well, that's okay. I'm certainly patient when it comes to waiting for some knives to end up showing up, especially TwoSuns that end up taking, better part of 6 weeks usually to get here. But, alrighty, yeah, we got their standard kind of stuff, and then we got the pouch. This guy actually feels a little lighter than I kind of thought it would. But, hey, this is the Labrador, which we kind of have a mutt Labrador hanging out in the house. Its tongue is too big for its mouth, so it usually hangs a good inch or two out most of the time. Really timid. It has a personality of a deer. And it's a little strange, but she's a good dog. We got some nice action out of the box. Still the front flipper on these, like I've kind of experienced from a lot of other Udong designs, aren't exactly my super favorite. It's not bad for the reach around though. That works out all right, and definitely has plenty of jimping for all of that. Some people, like Corinne Hu on their Facebook page, has kind of said that they thought the handle was way too big, but I can kind of understand why someone like that would say that. Usually, not always, but usually, people of Asian descent don't really have these gigantic hand mitts. For me, this works out rather well. I have just a little bit on the end there that extends there. It has all the jimping in the world for deployment with the front flipper and then the flipper tab with the jimping all the way out there and everything. I would still prefer to have the jimping actually come out probably to about there on the knife, whereas it's way back, basically only where the handle is. Which, yeah, it's not exactly my favorite, but still, I mean, the ergonomics on this thing really lock in the hand. Nested liner lock here. Green micarta in this particular case. And this green micarta actually has quite a bit of green going on in there. But I suppose that would make sense. It is definitely different than the raccoon here. even though they're both micarta. They are definitely different micartas. I also have the Valkyrie over here. The thumb stud's not too far away. It's just chilling in here. I was doing something with it. I wanted to get an absolute accurate measurement, and that thumb stud was preventing my calipers from getting all the way down there. So that's why I ended up taking the thumb stud off. It'll go back on in a minute, but yeah, there you go. The Labrador, definitely a larger knife than the other two. And for me, that makes me happy because it usually means that it's going to be a quote-unquote full-size knife for me to be able to hold on to here. It's got Proud Liner, which usually is not my favorite for liner locks. I do like, and this one definitely does as well, have a little bit of that handle cut out for it. But having that kind of stick out with the jimping, usually not super comfortable to me. It doesn't bother me on this one though, so that's definitely something that's good in my book. A lot of times, if a company will do that, and it's usually some of the more cheaper kind of companies like the the dice roll companies on Amazon. And you're like, who are these guys? I don't know. Maybe the knife looks a little good. I don't know. Maybe something like this guy here, since I did have it just sitting over on the side. And yeah, they're usually a bit sharp and uncomfortable if that liner sticks out proud. But yeah, this one doesn't bother me in the hand at all. This choil is cute, but definitely not a full-size one that I would be able to take advantage of. I can get my fingertip in there, but at that point, I don't have any power behind any kind of cuts. So, yeah, that is kind of what it is. The plunge grind is very, very gradual. It ends basically just at the heel there. So you will eventually hit that. But that seems to be something that virtually all manufacturers just don't give an absolute damn about. They like how a gradual plunge grind looks. If a choil is there, who knows exactly why the designer may or may not have decided to put that on there. So, yeah, I don't know. I do suppose that there's a lot of companies out there who are putting out knives that they're pretty darn sure aren't going to be a one-and-done knife. So, in that particular way, some of them, they don't necessarily care about doing some of those things absolutely a way a one-and-done kind of knife would be. And certainly a very lazy plunge grind up to where the edge is and stuff like that. Usually, in my mind, comes into the fact of somebody really thought this knife looked good, but they didn't really think enough about the actual practicality of using it over years. They want it to absolutely look pristine. Like, okay, this is cool. This was another knife. Put it in the drawer and wait for the next one to come out, sort of thing. I think it's probably a little bit that, and also there's a lot of designers out there these days who are not knife makers. They're literally just designers. A lot of them will do it in AutoCAD or any of those other kind of drafting kind of applications and stuff like that. So for them, it's really, really difficult to actually do iterations and kind of change things around. There's a reason why some folks like Warren Osborne and Ken Onion, Kit Carson, Mel Pardue, a lot of those names were really well known in the knife industry and still kind of are, especially with like the Benchmade 940 and the Griptilian and all that sort of stuff. It's because they perfected a lot of those designs over the years of actually making and using the knives before a company actually bought the rights to it or whatever. So you tend to not see that quite as much from some of those, but they're becoming a little bit more few and far between because it's much easier to be able to fully design something electronically. And you can get some really interesting things out there, and people have a lot of really good ideas, but as far as iteration and actual in-world use and stuff like that, a lot of times that kind of goes by the wayside, unfortunately. And I do think that probably has something to do with some of these really, really slow plunge grinds coming up to the edges of the knives and stuff like that is because it looks really good. I'm not going to lie, especially the way that like a lot of QSPs are really known for doing like a really, really slow, gradual plunge grind and everything to try to make it look almost visibly imperceptible and stuff like that. I do agree, it looks really, really good, but practicality, it isn't really in that equation, unfortunately. But, alrighty, yeah, I guess I wasn't really expecting to do a rant or anything like that, but here we are. Got a nice drop point blade. Nice and thin. This thing should have a 3mm blade stock thickness. To me, it looks maybe a little bit thicker, but they basically say all of them are 3. And, yeah. Yep, I guess my eyes are just deceiving me. I suppose that happens when you get older. I didn't say old, I just said older. Thank you very much. We still have their kind of standard clip, which isn't bad for me. It's not exactly my absolute favorite. This one does seem to possibly have. Yeah, it does look to have a little bit more open room, especially at the back loop, to hold a little bit more fabric. But this thing also, it's a folded over clip, but because it's not mounted absolutely at the back, you're still going to have some sticking out of your pocket there. So it's going to look like a knife that doesn't have a deep carry pocket clip. To me, doesn't really matter. That doesn't get in the way of my hands or anything like that. I can definitely feel the pocket clip there, but it's not digging in or anything uncomfortable. Nice contouring on the handle scales there. It's not super thick either. Feels really, really good in this pinch grip sort of thing that I end up doing quite a bit, especially if I'm breaking down a lot of boxes and stuff like that. I can make a cut, and then I can hold that just in my index finger, be able to manipulate with basically both hands, and then continue to cut. And that seems to be nice and comfortable for me. Yep, thumb stud feels super nice, and of course, like the other ones there that have the thumb studs, that thumb stud, because of this choil, or whatever almost choil that you could get out of the raccoon or whatever, I guess even here on the Sax, what is this, the Valkyrie, the thumb stud is not actually really in the blade path there. So unless you're really doing like a downward cut or something like that, thumb stud isn't going to get in the way when you're actually trying to force something down near the heel of the blade. I really appreciate that. I do believe that micarta was the only options for these guys. They did have a couple of different colors. I think probably green and black, and then some of them had a black blade and some of them didn't. But this one seemed to be the one that was a little bit more interesting to me. I think I may have mentioned it earlier in the video here, but I did order a couple other Vosteeds that became available today. So I do have a Bellamy and a Nightshade on the way. That Nightshade look reminds me, probably because I'm kind of old school with some knives, reminds me a lot of the Bob Lum Spyderco folders. Same kind of just shilling cutter or whatever the hell the actual blade pattern actually is for those things. It's going to be on the smaller side, so it's going to be a little bit more like the Spyderco small Bob Lum. They did have a larger one, but that's perfectly fine. Yeah, both of those I ended up getting in micarta. I got their black micarta for those ones instead. They had some other options there, including some G10 scales for them as well, but they just didn't look quite as interesting to me. Mostly because I ended up buying them on their new Amazon store, and they didn't have the purple G10 version of the the Nightshade available, which, given the choice, that would have been the one that I purchased. But still, getting micarta, I do kind of, as far as overall being comfortable, I do prefer it over G10. That being said, I am actually carrying a G10 knife on me today. Just pulled that out of my back pocket. That's the TwoSun 501. But I'm also carrying micarta. There's the artisan cutlery. It's not the Arian because that's not a Laconico design. It's that one. Yeah, we also have the Migron Pelora. And, well, that's not a knife, but hey, it is titanium and nice light and or laser pointer. Yeah, I don't know. That was my EDC. Figured since I just got home from the office and got to open this up that I would do a little bit of a pocket dump. This thing is, I really do like the micarta on this thing. Gosh darn it. It's going to kill me not to remember the name of this stupid thing, because it's not the Sirius. Unless it is, and I'm absolutely incorrect on it. I don't know. Either way, I do like this thing quite a bit, but there is another one from Laconico from Artisan that I do think I like just a little bit more. But I really do like this black and red micarta. Very, very high thread count, I should say. So very much a linen micarta, which is obviously very different from what you'd get from canvas micartas, which you can definitely see a difference in the weave pattern and also the feel as well. All right, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Just had one knife show up, and I was kind of interested in it. Oh, if I didn't mention that before and you didn't catch on, 154 cm steel, which they've done with quite a few of the Vosteeds so far. They have done 14C28N, I want to say, on one of them. Not one that I own, so I can't really speak like with great authority on that, but I do believe I've seen them have that available on a knife before. They also did the, what is it, the Thunderbird and S35 VN, but I think they're also up in the air on whether or not they're going to continue using that steel for the newer iterations of that. Which, I don't know, I kind of would like to at least see him continue on, I guess, at least with the same steel on a particular model, rather than doing a downgrade to make them just a little tiny bit more affordable. Because they were already not incredibly expensive. You might as well just keep it that way. I don't know. Those are generally my thoughts. I need to shut up and unwind from the day. Not that a whole bunch of crazy stuff was happening, but digressions just keep coming out of my mouth and my face hole, and I need to just go ahead and stop all of that. So, I don't know. If you stuck around through all this, I really appreciate it. And if you didn't, well, you're not going to hear this, but I don't blame you. So, all right. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. And subscribe.